The movie opens with the wedding of Clifford and Connie. The following day, Connie has a conversation with her sister Hilda. Hilda believes that Connie's relationship with the aristocrat Clifford is merely a primitive desire and not significant enough to warrant marriage. However, Connie assures her that Clifford is different and that they needed to marry in case something happened to him during the war. Clifford is anxious as he is due to leave for the First World War in a few days. After bidding farewell to their newlywed life, Connie writes to her sister about how things have changed as she moves to her new home in Rugby. Upon arriving in Rugby, she prepares to start a new life with her husband, who is now wheelchair-bound following his return from the war. Clifford struggles to adjust to his new circumstances, and Connie supports him throughout, encouraging him to embrace their new life together in the mansion. However, Connie soon realizes that there are aspects of her needs that Clifford is unable to fulfill. The man is completely paralyzed from the waist down, and they must now confront the reality of not being able to have children. Clifford takes solace in his responsibilities as the head of the household and begins the process of hiring servants for himself and his wife. Among the many applicants, a former army lieutenant named Oliver Mayors emerges, who is set to become the forest guard of the Chatterley estate. Connie divides her days between reading books, caring for her husband, who only allows her to assist him, and writing letters to her sister about her daily life. One day, she agrees to her husband's suggestion to visit Teversal, a town near their estate. There, she learns about issues with the local mine and meets the town's teacher, Miss Flint. The woman has recently become a mother and resides on Mr. Chatterley's land, where she offers her farm produce in exchange for milk and other food items. Upon her return, Connie takes a stroll and spots Oliver in the distance for the first time. It is during their second encounter, which also involves Clifford, that Connie begins to feel a connection with Oliver. Oliver assists them by carrying Clifford's chair uphill. After he departs, a crucial and definitive conversation ensues between Clifford and Connie. Despite his physical limitations, Clifford expresses his desire to have an heir. He then proposes that Connie should conceive a child with another man purely as a process, so that they can raise a child together. Initially, Connie is perplexed by her husband's proposition and spends several days on the defensive with him. However, as her husband increasingly focuses on his mining business, she begins to feel increasingly isolated and craves companionship. This leads her to contemplate that perhaps her husband's suggestion of having an affair might not be such a bad idea after all. Connie's loneliness in the mansion intensifies, and she becomes increasingly burdened by the care her husband requires. During a visit to her sister Hilda, she is advised to hire a full-time caregiver for Clifford so that she can recuperate and avoid falling ill. Clifford initially reacts negatively to this suggestion, but eventually accepts the assistance of Miss Bolton, who becomes his indispensable aide. Shortly after Hilda leaves, Clifford requests a favor from Connie. He asks her to visit the remote house of the forest guard Oliver to inquire if the new pheasants have laid eggs yet. Upon arriving, Connie finds Oliver in the midst of a shower, completely undressed. She questions him about the chicks, but given the heat, he seems indifferent to the animals. Oliver treats her with utmost courtesy, suggesting that she could take some of the flowers adorning the entrance of his house. Connie takes note of his offer and later visits Miss Flint, whom she questions about Oliver. Miss Flint informs her that, according to rumors, Oliver separated from his wife because she had been unfaithful with multiple men while he was at war. It is also rumored that they are not officially divorced yet because his wife is reluctant to let him go. Upon her return home, Connie indulges in some self-care, presumably reminiscing about her encounter with Oliver. The following day, drawn by the noise made by Oliver, she discovers a small concealed cabin where he keeps the chicks. Oliver invites Connie to warm herself by the fire, and she begins to realize that her feelings for him are deepening more than they should. After this, Connie spends a week at home due to heavy rainfall, coming to the realization that her husband barely needs her anymore. Clifford has formed a close bond with Bolton. Observing her husband's increasingly authoritarian and harsh treatment of his mine workers, coupled with her own boredom and longing for affection, Connie decides to revisit the secluded house. There, Oliver shows her how to handle the chicks, and in response, she gives him a heartfelt hug, expressing her dissatisfaction with her marriage. This leads to their first brief and somewhat distant intimate encounter. Oliver walks Connie to the fence, presuming that their interaction would end there. However, Connie returns to the cabin the next day under the pretense of taking a forest walk. She has another encounter with Oliver, this time sharing a kiss. The passion between them is palpable, and Connie's frequent visits to the secluded house become more noticeable. Miss Bolton starts to notice that Connie frequently ventures deep into the forest and seldom brings her book to read. She engages in a conversation with Connie, revealing that she lost her husband 25 years ago and has not been involved with any other man since. This revelation explains Miss Bolton's choice of silence and her decision to allow Connie to enjoy her time in the forest. Connie and Oliver have a gathering at Mrs. Flint's house. During this meeting, Connie becomes upset with Oliver because he barely conceals his feelings for her in front of Mrs. Flint. Upon leaving, Connie requests Oliver to stop addressing her as my lady and to be somewhat more brusque with her. Oliver heeds her request, and from that moment on, their intimate encounters become a regular occurrence. Bolton, who is notably perceptive, eventually figures out the identity of the man who has driven Connie to madness. He attempts to protect Connie from the judgment of other working women, asserting that Connie treats her servants well, and that the increasing cruelty and authoritarianism displayed by her husband towards his mine workers is not her fault. Connie and Clifford barely communicate, and when they do, it's usually about Connie's disapproval of Clifford's treatment of his employees and his low wages. In a conversation with Bolton, Connie hinted that she and Clifford might soon have a child, not because she was unfaithful, but to dispel any such suspicions. To protect her marriage, she shared this possibility with a few colleagues. Clifford has now heard this rumor and believes that Connie is spreading it to ensure that when they do have a child, no one will question its paternity. Suspecting that she might be carrying Oliver's child, Connie tells Clifford that she has taken his suggestion into consideration and believes that their planned trip to Venice with his sister and father would be an opportune time to have a child. However, when she shares her possible pregnancy with Oliver, he reacts negatively. He realizes that the Venice trip is a ruse to have a child with Clifford, ensuring that no one would suspect otherwise. This leads to a disagreement between Oliver and Connie, despite her assurances that she wants to be with him and has no intention of leaving him or denying him his potential son. Following a series of heated days, Connie and Oliver find themselves assisting Clifford on a mountain where his new vehicle has become stuck. In an attempt to share a private moment, Connie tries to kiss Oliver discreetly, mindful of Clifford's presence. However, Oliver rejects her advances due to his lingering anger towards her. Connie, feeling remorseful, confesses her actions to her husband, explaining that Oliver was only trying to assist him. This revelation sparks a heated argument between Connie and Clifford, leading Connie to make a bold decision. She decides to put everything on the line for Oliver, determined to express her desire to be solely with him and willing to leave behind her current life if necessary. The girl advises Connie that she needs to create the illusion that she is making every effort to salvage her marriage with Clifford, while secretly desiring a divorce and a fresh start with Oliver. The pivotal moment of reconciliation occurs during a rainstorm, with both Connie and Oliver standing naked, while Clifford, seemingly aware of the situation, becomes overwhelmed as Connie fails to return home. Bolton offers to search for her and eventually discovers Connie in the midst of the forest, accompanied by Oliver. Bolton immediately realizes that Connie has already fallen deeply in love with the forest guard and holds complete disdain for her husband. Subsequently, Connie begins packing her suitcases, preparing to join her sister and father. She confides in Hilda, her sister, confessing that she intends to divorce Clifford as she has become infatuated with the forest guard. However, Hilda reacts negatively to this revelation, expressing concerns about leaving behind a comfortable life to be with someone who seemingly has no stable prospects. Nevertheless, Connie attempts to persuade Hilda of Oliver's virtues by bringing her to his residence. Hilda, however, displays a lack of politeness towards Oliver, questioning him about his plans for supporting his sister once Clifford departs. Despite the initial tension, Oliver and Connie spend the night together, bidding farewell the following day until Connie's return from Venice. However, a few days later, Connie's ex-husband's new partner visits her, demanding child support payments. In an unforeseen turn of events, the man manages to sneak into Oliver's house and discovers a shirt and a book belonging to Connie. Subsequently, the rumors begin to circulate throughout the town, eventually reaching the attention of Mrs. Bolton, who wastes no time in contacting Connie to relay the information. However, before Connie can make her way back home, Clifford has already become aware of the rumors and takes the initiative to summon Oliver to his office for a farewell conversation. By the time Connie finally returns, even Mrs. Flint, previously an ally, distances herself from Connie. Mrs. Flint expresses her disappointment, claiming that Connie has placed her in an incredibly complicated predicament by becoming involved with the man she loves on her own farm. Connie reunites with Oliver, and he proposes that they leave together and embark on a new life. He assures her that he intends to fulfill this promise, but for now, he must bid her farewell and depart so that she can address her situation with Clifford. Oliver pledges to seek her out once the current difficulties have subsided. It is during this pivotal moment that Connie musters the courage to visit the mansion and confess to Clifford that she is pregnant, making it clear that the child is indeed Oliver's. Clifford reacts with anger, for he reminds her that they had an agreement to have a child together, but it certainly didn't involve her getting involved with one of his employees, let alone falling in love with him. Connie insists on a divorce, even though Clifford adamantly declares that he will never grant her one. Undeterred, Connie leaves the mansion, expressing gratitude towards Bolton for acting as a maternal figure and for discreetly supporting her secret romance. In the following days, Connie resides in Venice, pondering the possibility of reuniting with Oliver at any given moment. However, it is only upon Connie's return to London that a significant turn of events occurs. Her sister, having sensed that Connie cannot suppress her love for Oliver, presents her with a letter from her lover. The letter contains detailed instructions for Connie to journey to a secluded area within the forest. There, Oliver has secured employment on a farm and a modest, humble house for them to reside in, enabling him to care for Connie and their unborn child. Connie follows the instructions and eventually discovers the house, marking a long-awaited reunion with her true love after a considerable period of separation. At this point, the movie concludes, leaving the audience with the hopeful prospect of Connie and Oliver beginning their new life together. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Watch our next videos on the screen, and don't forget for more amazing recaps. See you on the next one.